I haven't seen it yet. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get things set up. But you want to go to New Zealand because of what's its butt?
Well, that's what I just said. So if New Zealand has a Lord of the Rings and a female prime minister.
Yeah.
I bet they would do it if they have a Twitch.
Yeah.
I guess I'll like know it again.
Okay. I asked. Did you turn it on? Okay, I cannot hear can I hear myself now? I think I can. Cool. Hey guys, welcome to my stream today. Hello. Yes, happy Pride. Today is June 1st, so it's officially Pride month. So yay, all that good stuff. And today, to kick, I guess not really to kick off Pride month, but one of the things I do want to do in my app at some point is put the, hi Dragon Dust, welcome, is have the icon at some point have the rainbow behind it. In honor of Pride Month, I did switch all my stuff, like my outlines, to be rainbow. I actually probably should have done it beforehand, but, you know, here we go. Figured better late than never. So yeah, so today we're going to be working on Coffee Companion and all that good stuff here. So let's just dive in a little bit and do an overview of what I need to get what I want to get done today. Switch to... Cool. So I did end up getting the icon done over the week. I also got the backlog done as well. So not backlog, wow. I also got beta up, but then I noticed that there was a bug in it for the calculation for the water wasn't working correctly. So I'm gonna have to fix that today. And then the coffee and water ratio should be switched and as well. So we're going to be working on that and that's really what I'm going to be focused on right now is doing that calculation, getting the coffee and water ratio switched. And then we're going to use core data and add in Cloudkit at some point. But right now core data is just built in, so we're going to use core data right off the bat and get users to be and allow for brewing methods to be added in. And the title gets to change based on that brewing method. So the first thing I want to do is actually switch that coffee and water ratio. So right now it says 16 grams of coffee to 1 gram of water. If you see in here, that actually needs to be switched to be 1 gram of coffee per 16 grams of water. I completely did not catch that, but someone on Twitter did, which is great. Which is why I definitely don't mind, putting stuff out there for people to work on. So, for people to look and figure out what's happening. Cool. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and work on that first thing in the Trello. I hope everyone's having a decent Monday. I know that it was a rough weekend, at least in some parts of the nation and some parts of the US, but I hope everyone's having a decent enough Monday. So like I said, coffee and water ratio should be switched first. So that's what I'm going to do first. Helpers. So I know part of that is also my default values here. Which really, I don't even need user defaults for this part, just because I will be taking this to core data. So I'm trying to decide if it's even worth it to actually do the user defaults first. I don't think it's necessarily worth it to do the user defaults first. It might be worth it more so to actually do the, to just start in with core data and get a model going for that and then get that imported, get that going. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new group so that I can put the core data stuff in there, and it's going to be called models. We're going to move. So whenever I launched the app originally, I had the core data be generated. So that's why we have this XC data model ID here. We're going to drop that into models. So that moves and save it. And then we're going to add an entity for a brew method. And it is going to have, what did I have in here? User defaults. Sure. Cool. So in here we had user defaults, and that's going to be, we definitely need a bloom length. And that's going to be an integer at the beginning. So coffee ground, so this is how much coffee is going to be used. And that's going to be a double. Coffee amount. Wow, these were just like bad naming. So water ratio, that should be, I'm gonna put it as an integer for now. Bloom ratio, integer. Bloom length. Okay, and then the bloom time was to get that string. And then that was format time, which is not necessarily needed. Okay. For the brew method, because in theory that can now happen on the view, not on the on appear, so that gets calculated. So let's go a little bit more in. So we have that made. So that brew method is made here. So we actually want to change content view. We need to get that manage context. So that's with an environment at environment / managed object context var. I'm going to call it MOC. So actually what I need to do is go back into my scene delegate, because this was already added for me here where it says context. And we're going to call it MOC for manage object context. And that should get that there. Cool. So yeah, I was just adding some content there so that we know that it's going to be fixed in that. So we have content view here, environment. So actually, I guess before fixing the coffee water ratio, we're actually going to do that brewing method first. That way they can just be added. And in here, we also then need a title, which is a string. And then, title. Yeah, I think that should be it for now. And then let's add an ID. I like putting an ID in here because if I do a list of some sort or like a for each, then I can quickly and easily iterate based on that ID. Like there has to be an ID property. Awesome. So now we are going to, from content view, instead of going to calc main first, which is this part here, we're actually going to make a whole new view here. And it's going to be brewing, brew choices. Have I ever mentioned how much I hate naming things? It's still a thing. So underneath brew choices, new file, SwiftUI, next. Cool. Brew choices, menu. Brew choices menu sounds like a good thing. So basically, I am going to make this, hold on, I have a picture of what I want to get done, but basically it's going to be squares and it's just going to have the title for the brew choice. So the first thing we're actually going to do is put in here into this content view. Instead of calc main, we're going to call brew choices. And we'll see that come up here now. And there it is, hello world. So that's the brew choices menu. And then we'll do a and then we'll navigate based on the brew choices. So really I need to get those, I need to add in a button first. So for, it's gonna be a VStack for sure. Button add, print, add brew method, text, add. And you know, we'll throw this into a VStack also with a symbol in here. And that shouldn't say add, that should be action. There it goes. I'm a really big fan of these SF symbols. It just keeps everything looking like it should natively on iOS, which is great. So I'm looking for a plus sign here. Plus, we'll do plus circle.fill. So inside this button here, we're going to make it a VStack. And we're going to call an image. The only thing that I don't like is, I guess because there's so many SF symbols, they don't include them for autocompletes in here inside Xcode. So I just always have to make sure I have it up so I can type in the name correctly. It would be nice if I started typing in plus, if it would just start, nope, that's not wrong. If it would just autocomplete, especially because like it's built in, it knows what I want. It knows that I want a system name. Well, it knows what the system names are. Cool, so that's gonna get added. Now we're gonna make a fetch request. Well, we're gonna actually make the brew method. Func. Add brew method. And I need to get that environment variable in here. So at environment /.manage object context, right? Content view, manage object context, and my variable is MOC. I know, it's all upset. Var MOC. Cool. And inside here, so models, then I want controllers, new group. So I like to break my stuff up with model view controller. So my controllers are actually going to be what adds things or subtracts things to my core data context, so to my database. So we're gonna do Swift file brew method manager. Since it's going to actually just manage that. Class brew method manager. Func add brew method. And we need to import core data here. And I want to get the context for the managed object context. Cool. So let new brew method equals context. So now we just got to give the properties to the new brew method and then save that guy. Dot title equals, we'll just give new brew method. Actually, we'll make it bring in the title. Nah, it's fine. It's fine for now. And then I want new brew method dot ID. New brew method dot. So bloom length, the default I want to do is 45. Bloom time, or bloom ratio, I want 2. What else was there? There was, to models. Bloom length, ratio, new brew method dot coffee ground equals 6.0. So we're just basically giving, I could just give it defaults here. That way in case nothing's passed, but really I just like doing it here so I can explicitly see inside here that we're at the new brew method object that I'm making. Title and then water ratio. Equals 16. Great. So we have that brew method there. It's being made, and then we have to do it in a try. Do try context dot save catch, and I'm just gonna print the error for now. This might be more detailed later as to what the error actually does and do something based off of that. All right. So next, so now inside here, we're just going to say let brew method manager. Which font do I use in Xcode? I am using Operator Mono right now. I bought it a long time ago, and it's been so far worth the price. I also go back and forth between Operator Mono and I think Dank Mono is the other one that I really like. Yeah, it was, did I actually have it installed? Yeah, Dank Mono I also really like. It's just it's another variation that lets me get like the italicized also. So like you can see actions a little bit different than like button here. And it does the italicized as well. And I think Dank Mono also does the ligatures, whereas Operator Mono does not. And then another one that I have that I don't actually have installed here, another one that I like to use, especially with like web dev stuff, and I might start doing it more here as well, is Code. Again, because of the ligatures. So when I do the dash greater than sign, it actually turns into an arrow. or like the equals turns just 2 straight lines. So it's just, instead of having two distinct equal sign, you get your two, they're actually connected, but still take up the same space. Whoops. So this one's operator mono though. And then I went through and I customized a lot of what's bold, what's bold, what's light, what's medium, and then versus what's italicized. So like I wanted the keywords to be italicized, whereas like plain text not italicized and stuff like that. Just so it's a little bit more in my face as to what is actually being adjusted, what is actually a keyword there versus not a keyword. So hopefully that helps. Well, that should be the answer, because yeah, it is operator mono. I think I saw Wes Boss from, who does a lot of JavaScript stuff, since that's where I got started, was using it in a bunch of his themes for Atom, I think, or maybe it was Sublime or VS Code, one of the three. And it looked really nice, and so saved some money and got it. I don't know if I would do it again. Instead, I don't think I would do it again on it, but it does look nice and it looks good, so I'm pretty happy that I did eventually do it. Cool. So now, yeah, no problem. Anytime. Dot add brew method, and we're just gonna pass it MOC. So now that we have an add function, we can actually get the fetch request too. Swift and Combine and Core Data kind of got a bunch of API overhauls. I mean, not kind of got, when WWDC last year came out, they introduced a couple of property wrappers to make Combine and SwiftUI and Core Data like work with each other. And one of those, well, is obviously this environment variable to pass around the manage object context. But another one is this fetch request option. And basically we can just call in the fetch request, and then we can give it a variable and all that, and it makes it a little bit easier. Brew methods. Entity brew method dot entity. No sort descriptors for now, just keeping it easy. Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to think. Brew methods, ns, fetch. Right? Which one is it? I was just dealing with this yesterday, and I want to make sure I get the right thing. I started remaking my iHog app yesterday to utilize Core Data a bit more. I mean, Cloudkit a bit more, and to so here it goes. It is fetched results. Yeah, so to utilize Core Data a bit more and to Cloudkit a bit more, and that way it's more of a first class, like actually being worked on. Fetched results. I did that wrong still, didn't I? Yes, I did. That's not what's in the less than greater than signs. And spelling results. And it's brew method. Cool. So that works there. And now we can put in a for each of brew methods brew method in and we'll say brew method dot title unresolved identifier. Oh, duh, that's why. What did I do wrong? Oh, I just put it in a list, not for each. So we'll just do a list for now. Requires element to conform to identifiable. It does, because it has that ID in there. Okay. So methods, comma, self. So we're gonna do ID / dot. Great. And then now it's just upset because title is a optional, and we need an actual string for sure. So what we're gonna do here is just say no title given. And that should allow it to work. And add. Well, it was, oh, I forgot to add the function inside the button. If you don't do that, nothing's gonna happen. Instead, we'll just always get it printed. Brew method. And there it is, a new brew method. And we can just keep adding, and it's just gonna keep adding them in. Cool. So really what we need though, well, I don't really want it to be the new brew, so I don't really want it to be a list that we can see and go and add. I kind of wanted them to be square and like actually look like a button. So that's what we're actually going to go do. So we're going to, well, yeah, so we'll make this instead of brew methods dot count. Is that an option? Yeah. Sorry, trying to think about how I want to go about this and if it's something I want to do first. You know, I don't think it's something I want to do first. I think what we're going to do is actually put this in a, maybe the list would be better. Navigation view. So a navigation view is actually just a VStack at the end of the day. So instead of just having it VStack inside of VStack, we can actually have it be a navigation view. And we can do some adjustments here. Navigation bar title. Can I just do a display mode without the navigate everything else? Dot inline. I thought I could have done bar title display. Okay. I do want though to have the button, because then we can put the add button. It's not as fun. I don't like it being a list. For each from 0 to brew methods dot count. Let's just try something here. So because I really want it to be the button. Like hold on. Share. AirDrop. So I do a lot of my sketching on my iPad. So I'm just airdropping over this image real quick so that we can see it. Here it is. So I really want it to be a button like this. And even the add button is going to turn into something like this. That way it's a little bit more three-dimensional. And it's just a little bit, I don't know, a little bit more stylized than just a list. So that's what I'm trying to figure out now. Brew. I don't know if it's going to work though because it becomes a set instead of a yeah, I didn't. That's fine. Let's just take that back to VStack until I can figure it out exactly. It's upset again. See, you can do basically, let's try this. Data is brew methods. ID is still /.id, kind of just like with a list. Pretty much exactly like with the list. Brew method text brew method dot. Wow, not capitalized B. Okay, and then I have nothing. Cool. So let's try this again. And cool, we have the brew methods. And I hit add and it keeps working. So instead of VStack, I'm gonna add this as a scroll view. That way they can scroll. And let's work a little bit on that button style. So here we can say navigate, print. We're just gonna do another print statement. Navigate to calc view. Brew methods. Brew method dot title. Unknown. And then we'll put a spacer, and then text is going to be the coffee ratio. So really, it's going to be brew method dot. I could make this its own separate button, but that would be way too easy, apparently, for me. I probably should at some point get this out. That way it can just be added in. But let's just make it kind of simple for now. Bloom dot water ratio. And then we're gonna do text 1 gram to dot color. We want foreground color. And then I need that coffee color that I had. You would think as I keep doing this over and over to get this coffee color, I would actually like be more aware of how to call it. Not there. Let coffee color equals color of UI color named coffee. And it is fix. There we go. Foreground color of coffee color. And then this is gonna be blue. That just makes it way easier. Dot blue. I actually don't think I need to put this in a... Cool. So it just had it go like that. But this actually needs to be in a V stack, but I don't think... I think what I need is a navigation link. Navigation link, SwiftUI. I just want to make sure I'm right here, that I want a... So I can still put that navigation view, navigation link. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to... Can I... Navigation link is going to go to calc main. What did I do wrong? I did not say that it went to a destination. If I don't say it's going to a destination, there's no way for it to know to go to a destination. Let's see. Great, and it looks like that works, but it's working but not working at the same time. Navigation, a view for presenting a stack of views representing a visible path in a view hierarchy. Yes, yes. Okay, so I know that clicking here, yeah, it decided to crash. Well, that's fun. No observable object for user set. Okay. Because when I called it, I wasn't passing in the user settings. Which is okay. I don't need that for right now. So we can toss this into a VStack first. Okay, so it has new brew method, 1 gram, 16. Oh, I forgot to do another plus here. Grams. And then I want a frame. Width 100, height 100. I just made up those numbers right now to get a frame width and height put in. So let's see how that goes. Cool. So we do have that new brew method, 1 gram to 16 grams. It's kind of doing what I would think it would do, but the issue is still, it's only showing 1 on the screen. Do I need to, inside the navigation view, does this need to be a scroll? Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that list because that's definitely not needed anymore. A scroll view already just by default in there. I hope that me thinking out loud is really fun to watch and fun to hear. That's part of why I wanted to do the stream. And these streams was because, like, being self-taught myself, it's really nice to hear, like, the inside of why people are thinking the way that they are. So I'm hoping that this is fun and entertaining to do, at least. Cool. And then at the end there we have a button. And there's the button at the end. Cool. So we have that frame. We can also just add padding. Around that. And then I'm also going to need to figure out how to get like 2 or 3 across, depending on what device you're on. I'm guessing that's what, like, collection, in UIKit, there's like this collection view. I'm guessing that that collection view would be useful that way. How I've done this before in iHog is I would use the, basically in that class that I made for like a brewing method class, I would make the fetch request there. And then every time I added, I would basically reformat the views so that it was a an array made of arrays, so it was a 2-dimensional array, so that it would say, great, we're going to go all the way through for each item inside that array, then we go for each again to loop around, and that way we could put 3 across, 3 across, 3 across, 3 across, and then hopefully button action would just be and then our button would just be at the bottom there. So that might be something that I have to do again. Dot font. Foreground color is black. We're going to do the same thing here. Cool, and we're just gonna, great, new, so this, where it says new brew method, that's actually gonna be the title. Let's do alignment. And what we want in here is to do multi-line dot center. So multi-line text alignment, since it wraps, and if I want it to be centered, so if it does end up wrapping, which hopefully it doesn't, it just depends how long people want to make their titles, that'll happen. Great, so it's wrapping. All right, so now the next thing I want to do is put in the border. Border. So let me go. Styles is what I'm looking for because I want a border that is a rectangle. So, I mean, I wanted a rounded rectangle border, which is in itself a little bit weird, into having to do this overlay with a rounded rectangle. So that's just a little bit weird because I wanted a rounded rectangle. They used to have, like in the very early like betas of SwiftUI, you actually could just say dot border with, and then pass in like a corner radius, and it would just border around the corner radius at the same point. But for some reason it doesn't right now. What did I miss? So let's just... go one at a time. Why did it expect though? There should, oh, because it's missing one here. There we go. Rounded rectangle should not be a... It goes at the end. There we go. Okay. And I'll probably end up changing the color around it, but cool. So we have the buttons. I am gonna want to put a drop shadow of some kind there. But right now it should be okay. How did was that just foreground color? Yeah. I was gonna override though what I put inside. Let's hope not. Let's hope it doesn't override. I mean, it definitely could, and that's fine. It'll be something to work around, but it does not. So awesome. Great. So basically, it's just going to give you, that's exactly what I wanted. And we can go and check that sketch a little bit. So pretty much what I wanted, and like I said, I'm going to have to add the drop shadow, which will happen. And now let's do the add button real quick to have these options. So the difference with the button, I like to do it inside of the content option of the button declaration, mainly because then that gives you a bigger touch target. So now the button will be a width of 100 times 100. We'll do green. Actually, we'll do gray again. And then we want to do a dot background color dot green. I know it's time to stand up. So after this builds, I'm gonna have to stand up. I'm trying to get this month. I am determined that this is the month that I fill all my rings every single day on my Apple Watch. That's what happened. So that also means though that, yeah, these all need to go, that while I do these for a couple hours, I do have to get up and stand and walk around a little bit to get the stand hour. Last month, so in May, It broke because I did one of these for a couple hours. I did one of these streams for a couple hours and I didn't get stand up during all of it. Dot background. So that was a little bit disheartening because I actually had a really long streak going for my stand hour, but it happens. So I'm just keeping a little bit of an eye. I want to get this add button done, and then I'm gonna take a little bit of a break and then come back I just need to walk around for a minute until it says, oh, I did it. Okay, cool. So that got added. The only thing is that the foreground color of the text I really don't like as being gray itself. And dot foreground color dot black. Cool. And that should be a good pausing point, and then we'll, like I said, I'll come back and do more. Scroll. Okay, so that's definitely a bit more noticeable. I'm not completely happy with the color. It might need a little bit more in there of... It might need a little bit more in there, more detail in there, but that's a good enough to be in a good spot right there. So like I said, I'm gonna take a break and then I will be right back. And we are going to, before I stop today, I am going to be getting all 3 of these done. So BRB. And I'm back. All right, so like I said, we're going to be still working on getting this brewing methods now to actually get that implemented into that main calculation that we've kind of worked on the past couple of streams. Yeah, let's dive right in. Thanks for standing by while I had to get my stand hour. On top of that, I got to see my doggo on the couch looking dead, as he does all the time. Okay, so we have this. The only thing now that we need to do is actually adjust calc main. We're going to have to adjust calculation main. Hey, stop, Dobby. Sorry, that was loud. Sorry about that. Is adjust calc main to do a, what I want to do there is take in this brew method and then get the options out of the brew method. So, Command T, I just want a new tab. And inside calc main, we're gonna say in here, var, brew method, cool. So we have a brew method here, calling it in, brew method here. All right, so now we need to actually send that from brew choices or else it's gonna get upset. Great, so that gets passed in. So now we just need to get these chosen. So title block actually needs, we don't really need that anymore completely. Let's see, so title block needs to go in here. Bar title string title cool. So in here, now we're going to add in a title, which is going to come from the brew method. Unknown. It's probably still gonna possibly crash and be a little bit upset here. That's totally fine if it does. Cool. I mean, cool, but not cool. Oh, actually, since this is a navigation view, we could actually put it as part of the title. Hold on. So what if we do dot navigation bar title brew method dot title be fun. Put in some emojis. Dot. Inline or large. And in theory, new brew method should be like the longest thing. I think maybe AeroPress might be another long one, but new brew method. Look at that. Okay, that's actually a lot better than I thought it would be. So we can actually even say in here, dot navigation bar items trailing. We can actually put that edit button even. Which is inside shared. So edit button here. Okay, and then we're gonna go into what is it? Oh, okay. I get it. Here and put edit button. Count main has is nothing of is settings shown equals true. What's that? Yeah, it does. Right here. Let's see. In theory, that should work the exact same and then get me out of using that title block thing because I don't think I actually need it. I'm trying to make this a little bit neater. Part of the edit button is apparently that part there. But we can obviously change that part. And actually, since I deleted the title block, I'm going to go ahead and run this again and try it again. Go. New method. And it's upset because we don't have a no observable object is being sent. Yeah, I know it's not. Settings.coffeeground gets sent, and then in coffee amount, what does it do? It just reads it in. So what if I just go ahead and change these all right now? I think that's what we can do. Coffee amount, instead of settings, we'll just do brew method dot coffee ground, water amount, why? Oh, okay, I think that's and then coffee I get why it does it. I don't want it to do it though. Edit view. ratio edit, and it does. Okay, I'll just pass it in for now, and then this is going to be a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. I don't know why I thought it wasn't going to be a lot of work. I just, you know, didn't think it was going to be this much work. That's a-okay. Brew choice methods. Brew choices menu. We are going to do a settings. Now my watch wants me to breathe, but that is something I don't really listen to. There's not rings for breathing, so I'm not going to try to hit that one yet. Dot environment, object, settings. Oh, it probably needs a self dot settings, I'm gonna guess. For say something. Dot. It's upset at something else. I did, and then I got upset that I did that. Are we better now? There we go. Okay. Now there is not a weird thing. Cool. New brewing method. I think that looks good. I hit edit. It's going to bring up the same thing. Done. Cancel. I don't know if that shouldn't stay as user defaults. No. Well, that, because like I know I always do around the same, so it should be a little bit helpful. Okay, so that's gonna stay. Dot navigation bar hidden true. I think adding this dot navigation bar hidden is going to hide the big space above. I could be wrong, but it's what I think will happen. And I was wrong, completely wrong. Or does it have to go there? Okay, so that it really doesn't matter where it goes, it's just not working. And then I also wonder if it's a simulator versus real device type issue. So I guess I could solve this by just going to my phone and seeing if it works there. Just waiting for it to build and run on my phone. Oh, did I? No, it's there. Okay. Woo. Sorry, I didn't, it's right there. I didn't see it down there. So I thought I had actually deleted that, property thing that I needed. It's being built. So I know that building and waiting for something to run is very exciting, especially when you can see it. I'm just trying to see if it'll work or if it won't work. Why? I'm trying to get rid of that big space. I mean, it's still there up at the top. And instead of, I didn't even think about dark mode, dot black, I want to put primary. So by using dot primary instead, the text won't blend into the background. Okay, so that works. I mean, it's still, I'm still seeing the navigation bar heading is, I wonder if I do, so leave that there. No, okay, anyway. I don't think that'll work. So I was like, what if I keep this as it is, but put navigation view inside content view, like at the very beginning, but I don't, and then I hide the navigation view bar there, but I don't think that'll work. So we're just gonna keep going as it is right now and getting all of this to listen to the core data part. And then we'll worry about updating it later. I think in the edit, what I'm going to also add, which should help, no, I don't want to build to my phone anymore. Stop. Just don't build to my phone, build to the simulator. SE second gen. So what I think I'm going to add into here is, instead of this edit button here, what I'm going to add in is the, or add into the edit button. I'm still going to add in the coffee amount where we can change, just like if you tapped on the coffee grind itself. Coffee ground, just like there, that new coffee amount is also going to be put inside the edit here as well. And I'm going to add that save button there again. Done and save will do the same thing, but it'll make more sense to have a cancel there instead of done. And then a save down here to save everything. I think that'll be a little bit better. That way it's a bit more, what I'm looking for. That way, if you tap on it, great, you find it. But if you don't find it and it's hidden behind that edit, then it's a little bit more discoverable on how to change it. You're not just stuck with that 60 grams coffee ground. Let me go ahead and get the, so now I need to get these actually in here. So water amount. Okay, so really I need to pass in, well, I have a ratio. So we can actually get that ratio to go in through there. Times ratio. Okay, and then that ratio can always be overridden. Nope, it's not going to come from user defaults. It's going to come from so coffee amount is going to come, and coffee amount, I really mean coffee ground. Copy, paste, paste. What are we gonna do here? Copy, and then go back into calc main. I'm just trying to make it a bit more consistent. Water. Oops. Brew method dot water ratio. Why? Oh, because that's it was an integer. That's why. Because integers do not work properly like that. Cool. One gram here. So it is 60 times 16 is 960. So in theory, that is right. And then water for bloom. Bloom ratio is going to be brew method dot bloom ratio. Okay, so in here we're gonna go brew choices. No, the wrong one. Blooming. That's what I was looking for. Blooming is here. So we're actually going to rename that to coffee ground. And then we're going to add in a bloom ratio, which is a int. Right? That is an integer. I'm sure it's not going to find anything. Almost positive it is. And then from coffee ground times double of the bloom ratio. And then here, to oh, and then we also need bloom time, which I have as a string, but var bloom time raw int. So I actually need to get this converted from the bloom. I'm gonna call it bloom time raw. I'll just call it bloom time. That's fine. Oh, thanks for the follow, Where's Wayne? I appreciate it. Getting me definitely closer to that goal that I have. Again, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it, and thanks for making little corgi run across my screen. Also, always appreciate seeing a little corgi run across. Bloom time is that's coming from brew method dot bloom length. Great. Let's see. Coffee ground. Yep, that's right. I don't understand why we're having issues. Unable explicit type to disambiguate. There shouldn't be anything to disambiguate unless there's something wrong with Let me take this out. Sometimes the errors in SwiftUI are really good, and then sometimes it doesn't give me the proper errors, and I'm like, why? Oh. Okay, really? Okay, so that's the issue. Fix. That's fine. Bloom time. Dot. Which means I'm gonna have to do the same thing. Bloom length. That should be better and not cause the error anymore. Why did it fail now? So in blooming, oh, I don't have a bloom ratio to, no, bloom time is 45. I just did. Yep, just said that. Great. So sometimes Xcode is not as fast as I am. And it's like, you still have an error. And I'm like, no, I don't. I have to fix the error. Format time. And inside settings here, helpers, property wrapper, I actually have that function. So what we're gonna do is make this actually return a string. And it's going to take here the function format time. Let temps to bloom time. And then we just have to return those minutes and those seconds. Return that string. I think that's all it would take. So I'm trying right now to get the user defaults to, for calc main, this view, calc main, which is this view here, to not rely on user defaults anymore. That way it can just all be stored in core data. Right now I'm just making sure that this is all still getting it. When you add a new brew method, it by default gives us a bloom length of 45 seconds, a bloom ratio of 2, coffee ground. This is going to be the amount of coffee that you expect to grind. By default, again, this is just something that is something that you can definitely change on the fly. Everything can be changed on the fly, of course, because, you know, defaults are not always perfect for everyone. And then water ratio is 16, which I think we now have everything not relying on user defaults, except for coffee ground. Yeah, so coffee adjust, which is what happens here. That's still reading from so that's going to adjust in user defaults. That's going to have to be changed in the, that's going to have to be changed on how to update core data. Edit, that also needs to be changed. Okay, so we can so the next thing, well, I took away, so I should really add that coffee to water ratio back instead of new brew or with new brew. So I should just put it at the bottom here, 1 gram to 16 grams, and do the wonderful coloring that I like to keep consistent as to how much coffee to how much water. So let's do that. Underneath, so in calc main, yep, right here, hstack which I think is honestly still, well, it's just gonna be an H stack and go one across. Text. That's gonna be slash brew method. Sorry, this isn't gonna be slash brew method anything. It's just gonna be 1 gram. Dot font color, foreground color. I gotta get that coffee color, so let coffee color equals UI color of, it's actually just named coffee color, I think is what I called it. Okay. Which means I can do color. And let me just make sure that's exactly what I called it, because if I don't call it correct, oh, I just called it coffee. Cool. Nope, go back. If I don't call it correctly, then of course it's gonna crash because I'm just force unwrapping it. There are some people who are very not okay with force unwrapping things. Depending on what I'm force unwrapping, I'm okay with it. Like color, I know it's declared. I know I declared it in Asset Manager, so I don't mind having that being declared. I might change that at some point. I mean, it'll always, if it's a color or something that's actually in my assets, then it's going to be okay. I know it's always going to be there. Whereas if it's like a title, well, to something that a user can change, well, I don't know that's always going to be there. They might put in an empty string. So that's why I like to have a, I don't force unwrap that kind of stuff, or I haven't been force unwrapping that. One gram to text. So that's going to be brew method dot water ratio dot foreground color blue. I should probably actually just store that as a view, that way I can just say coffee ratio. But then I'd still have to end up calling it in. 1 gram to 16 grams. How did I have that looking before though? Yeah, I had it exactly like that. Just, and I also had to say 1 gram of coffee, 16 grams of water. Let's see if, yeah, that could be something I could do still. 1 gram of coffee to 16 grams of water. I think that makes sense to do. That is... Calcmain. So we can put that in a V stack. Same thing here. Text, water, coffee. So I'm also, like, the reason why I also didn't want to use a list at the beginning, so like for all these new brew methods, we'll see these buttons pop up. Part of the reason I didn't want to use a list at the beginning of this was also because I feel like a lot of SwiftUI apps I've seen on the App Store or like on Reddit and stuff are all very list based. So I'm trying to get around that a little bit at least. So, you know, like this whole button thing, like it's going to end up being a grid. It's not just going to be a single row of buttons. Here we're going to have some kind of style to this as well. That kind of thing, like where it's not just a harsh gray. There'll be some drop shadows and all that kind of stuff, like trying to actually like flesh it out a little bit more. That's also why I'm trying to use a lot more color in this as well, just to make it, you know, stand out a little bit more than just like the standard list, like to a standard list app or something like that. Even though really at the end of the day, that's kind of what it is. We're just taking in information and like presenting it in some kind of list form. It's just a stylized list at this point. Okay, cool. 1 gram of water to 16 grams of coffee. That's perfect. I like that. Now the deal is, do I actually want it to say 1 gram to 16 grams of coffee here as well? Or do we think or is it just going to be okay with 1 gram to 16 gram? Because if it's just 1 gram to 16 grams of coffee, like that, I mean 1 gram of water to 1 gram of coffee to 16 grams, like I know what that, I'm gonna guess that should probably be okay with just the color. If y'all have opinions, I'd love to hear from them, like my viewers out there, if it should say coffee and water underneath. It just does add a lot of text to this button, but that is something that can always change, of course. But for now, I'm going to keep going. But chew on that idea. I'll also be thinking on whether or not I want to put coffee or water there as well. It might make the button a bit too text heavy, though I haven't quite decided, obviously, which is why I'm asking. Cool. Let's see. So now that that's all reading from, I don't think any of this is actually reading from the settings now, for at least like the info here is not reading from the settings. So what I need to do now is get this to actually like the edit window to read from core data, and same with coffee ground. Let's just update coffee ground real quick to update core data. So we're going to go in here and we're going to do update brew method function. And it's still going to take in that NS managed object context. So when we do this, what we need to do is request a, we're going to end up doing a fetch request here for only one specific item. And then we, from that one specific item, we go and we update what we need to update. So let me, fortunately it's not something that I've done too often. I really like using my old projects I've done this in just to make sure I do it right, because I know it works in these old projects. Cool. So in here, is it show manager that I do it in? Delete, update object name. So we take in a object entity. So we're going to take in this case, a brew method entity, or our brew method, the context, and then what we want to update with it. So in this case, it could be a whole slew of things. It doesn't have to just be the object type. It could be, I mean, the new title, all that fun stuff gets to be changed. Cool. So really, this is the part that we are also interested in, into updating those set values. How the edit works right now is if I just drag down, it gets canceled out. So we can really just set all the values at the same time and just rewrite over those values, even if they don't change, which I think is going to be the best case instead of having to get everything updated at the exact same time. And again, if y'all have opinions, or you see I'm doing something wrong, or you know a better way to do something, please let me know, and I'm more than happy to take info in. I'm not saying that I am doing the best thing every single time. I'm just doing a thing that I know works. Edit window. Okay, so that's just toggling the done button. Ratio edit is the first one. Okay, so ratio edit really how this needs to work. So I actually have this on the wrong thing. Also, the stepper needs to go onto the water amount. I'm trying to make sure that I put that that stepper on the right place right now, because we really want to increase the water amount. We don't want to increase the coffee amount. The coffee amount should always stay at 1. So what gram of yeah. Edit 16 grams of coffee to 1 gram water. Yes, because those are still tied to there. So what I'm going to do is, we already have a water amount, so that's great. Settings dot. We'll just do water amount here. And it really should just stay 1 gram of coffee. I mean, we don't actually 1 gram. 1 gram of coffee to water amount here. So this just adds +1, so increment. Now here we want to decrement the coffee, so we decrement, the water. And the reason why we're decrementing here as a function is because we don't ever, it got to be too much. So I don't mind putting stuff inside the curly braces on increment and on decrement, like actual logic in there. But once it gets to more than a line, like the self water amount equals self.water amount +1, like that's just 1 line of code. Once it gets to a little bit more than 1 line of code, so like the decrement that has an if and an else and it's going to be a little bit longer, then that's when I like to actually throw it into a function. So instead of decrement coffee, let's just do decrement water. And then we can just do settings, not even settings, just get rid of the settings options here. The reason why it's broken out like this, and if you watched the last stream, I'm sorry, you kind of watched me do this, but the reason why it's broken out like this is because there is not really a need to do this water. There's, is because it doesn't get saved until you hit save up at the top, until you hit done at the top, or I'm going to hit the save button like for coffee ground now. So that's why. So that should really probably be a binding variable. That way it is going to that way in main edit it does that, it gets that done, not gets it done. In main edit, when we hit the done button, it actually updates, or when we hit the save button, it'll actually update with it. So at state var water ratio is what I want to call it, because that's what it is in brewing. It equals, we'll just call it 16 by default. Yeah, that's fine. Giving a default value, and instead of at state here, we're going to do at binding var. I shouldn't need any of that. Cannot convert value of type int to specified binding value. Okay, binding var of int ratio edit water amount water ratio. Has to be a bling. I saw how this was done. We're just gonna, I mean, I'm not even using previews right now. I do have it on my list as a to-do that I want to get done. I'm just gonna leave it and see if it builds now. Edit 16, 17, 18. Yep, that's expected. And then if I hit, why did it decide to crash? So, done, edit, done, edit. Yeah, okay, so great. It's just not saving, which is exactly what I expected it to do, was not save at that point. Let me remove, oh. Let me get those state variables added in here first. That way we have things to edit. Add state var title string equals quote. New brew method. Really, and then on appear, we'll do an on appear also that then makes it all match in here. So when I say it makes it all match, it makes it all be, what does it do? Instead of making it all match, we'll add it, we'll set the default. So the title will be whatever the title of the brew is. And that's stored in core data. The water ratio will be whatever the water ratio is stored in core data. That way they don't just magically switch from this screen here to when you hit the edit. They don't just go to whatever the defaults are here. Yeah. Var. Oh, I did not spell state right. Bloom length. New at state var bloom ratio and equals 2 at state var water coffee ground. Which is going to be a double. All right, awesome. So now that that's done, next thing we need is the bloom length view. And here we are going to do text bloom length, increment, decrement, settings equals bloom. Okay, so instead of listening to the settings, we need to do that binding variable again here. Binding var. What is it? Bloom length. Yes, I know. Well, okay. So bloom length here is going to be bloom length. And that should I don't need a new one. Yes, I know. Cool, so that bloom length there, increment, decrement, and now instead of settings, we can get rid of just these settings options here. And y'all can kind of see that I'm a little bit inconsistent on even whenever I do increment or decrement the increment variables. Just it happens. Let's do bloom amount. Cool, and it built. I'm just happy that it builds right off the bat. Just making sure that everything is working as it actually should. And then this is gonna be a little bit upset if I don't do this. Bloom amount, bloom, bloom amount here. Nope, not bloom amount. Bloom ratio. There we go. I don't know why I was trying to call it bloom amount. Probably because that's what, there we go, what the view is called, but bloom ratio makes a lot more sense. Trying it out now to get that bloom ratio length is not. Why? Let's see. What exactly is. Why is it doing that? So bloom length should increase. Why is it not increasing? Oh, am I not? Okay, so bloom amount is also not. Oh, because it's reading from settings here still. Yep, so that should do it. And then in bloom amount, bloom length, we actually want to do format time again. And we want to send out a string. Where did I do that before? I just did the formatting for this exact thing. Blooming. That's where I did it. I know. There we go. And then instead of this, so instead of returning a string this time, we're actually going to do a state variable here. And what the state variable is going to allow me to do is just set that time as a string so that I can, instead of bloom time, we're going to call it bloom length. time equals. Cool. That way, we can just say format time every time we increment or decrement. Because I decided in my core data to not actually store this together. And then this, instead of reading from settings.bloom time, we're going to just give it time. And then dot on appear, we're going to call it self.format time. Whoops. Inaccessible due to private. Okay, so let's go back to here. Equals quote. That way I don't have to actually initialize anything. I think that was the issue, was I was trying to initialize. Cool. There we go. Now it came in. Edit. Great. And now that's working as should be. Great. So now the next thing is to actually update. So when we hit done, well, before we hit done, actually, I want to add in a, so that's coffee to water ratio. So then there should be a coffee amount here. So we can type in how much coffee there actually is. Right now it's only accessible by hitting coffee ground, which is actually not really that noticeable of something you can do. So by me including it in both places, it allows it to be a little bit more discoverable. That way, if you're just tapping it for the first time and you hit edit, then you can still change that coffee ground option. And when I say coffee ground, I really mean coffee amount. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to, so still in this edit. I have that as a view here under coffee amount, coffee adjust. That's what it's called. I can add that to here. Well, really, instead of having that there, I mean, sorry, I'm trying to think out loud here. Because how that coffee adjusts is trying to figure out exactly where that coffee adjusts, like, do I actually just want to call coffee adjust? Like, will that even work? Because I don't need a presentation mode at this time. I really just need this H stack here that says, hey, here's my coffee, here's my text field. And then when there's a new amount, we just save when they're on the button. But that kind of breaks how I've been doing this before. Whoops. All right, gonna decline that phone call, my bad. I don't know who it was. Also, as a 403 number. I don't think I know anyone in 403. So that's fine. So we're gonna take that coffee amount, and yes, I know that we're gonna need to adjust the bling and add in that, but that'll be okay. Go back down. And also, I don't. we're gonna make a new view just so that it keeps it like in the same style as everything else. Coffee amount edit. Whoops. And it was a spam, so I made the right call of not answering. Okay, so then we need to do coffee ground. Is that what I called it inside here? Also was coffee ground? I did. Okay. New coffee amount. So coffee ground, we're gonna just call it the same thing. At binding bar. The reason why I'm using at binding, if you guys aren't too familiar with SwiftUI, is it allows it to talk back and forth. So whenever I adjust the variable, so binding allows so that when I adjust the variable in here, it takes it back and adjusts it inside this view also, which is going to be where that save function is actually called to actually update the core data object here. So binding variable, coffee ground, double, bling coffee ground. And it's upset that I don't have that coffee color in here right now. So let's go ahead and get that color there. So this color was something I made inside, made in my color, in my assets. In my assets, we could go in and see it. Color, UI color. And I just want it named of coffee. Oh, because it needs to be like that, a string. Okay, and then it's still, oh, but I expected, okay, so ground is that color, is that coffee? Oh, I see. I see. String. Actually, that makes a lot more sense. And then make that a string also. Cool. Because it's a text field, even though my keyboard type is .decimal pad, meaning it'll only bring up a number pad, it still is always put in as a text field, as string. So then what I can do is when I hit save or done, it will convert it into a double to actually be stored inside the to actually update the object, the core data object that this is. But that should be right. Now, coffee adjust. I don't want it to call coffee adjust. I want it to call coffee amount edit. Coffee ground. Bling coffee ground. Just making sure that builds. Great. So the coffee amount. The next something that I should probably also add in here is a title, probably. That would make sense to add in a title. Let me actually put on Do Not Disturb right now. That way, we don't see anything. Whoops, come on. There we go. Actually, I'm gonna take a little bit of a break, and then I will be, give me like 5 or 10 minutes. Hey guys, I'm gonna get started again. Sorry about that being a little bit abrupt. I had some phone call I absolutely had to take come in. So with that being said, I want to jump right back into getting this all working with this edit screen working. So let's go back into the code. Thanks for those that stayed around. I really appreciate it. Like I said, it was only going to be 5-10 minutes. If another call like that comes back again, then I'll just end it here. And I might actually, I've been toying with the idea of actually picking this back up, like picking this up on Fridays as well. And that way it's just like, I can do double the amount. That way it gets, I mean, the app itself gets released sooner than later. But I also like just doing it on Mondays, and this is the one time that I work, and then I spend the rest of the week figuring out exactly what I want to do with it, which is kind of why I was working on Cloudkit, because I want to get Cloudkit added into this, because, excuse me, I know some people have like an old iPad or some other like device that they just stick in the kitchen, or they take their iPad to the kitchen that they use. So it'd be nice to just be able to have this all sync between the devices if needed. Cool. So I got that working. Let's run it real quick and make sure that that field is there. Cool. And so hit boom, edit, new coffee amount. Oh, I thought I wanted that at the, I feel like that coffee amount should be at the bottom of the screen here, not at the top. It also doesn't match the size of it as well that's been in there before. And also it should match. Coffee amount. Which I'm actually going to go and change that from coffee ground to coffee amount. Let me just do that real quick. Because it doesn't make sense for that to be coffee ground. A coffee amount. See, like if I wasn't trying to keep it like a little bit like short on text, it would actually say amount of coffee grounded, or amount of coffee ground. But I'll just keep it coffee amount. And really amount doesn't necessarily make sense either, because I do it by weight or mass, I guess is what grams technically is. But yeah, cool. Great, go back one more. So now that's coffee amount there. Edit. Yeah, that would make sense if I do coffee to water. So the ratio first. And then we do coffee ground next. Or coffee amount edit after the ratio. That way it kind of falls in line with the same. That way it falls in the same amount here. I mean, it falls in the same order. So you have your coffee. We start with the grams here, the coffee ratio. Coffee to water ratio, then you go to your coffee ground, and then water amount, and bloom water amount, and then bloom length. So really that should be switched as well. There we go. That way it just stays in that same order. I feel like the order makes sense. And then let's just do a new file, title edit view. Wow. Title edit. And it's pretty much going to be the exact same thing as coffee amount edit was. So I'm just going to copy that H stack. There's going to be some things we need to change, but the text field's going to stay the same. We're going to get that binding variable in. We are going to get rid of the preview. Keyboard shortcut time, Command / comments in Xcode. I love that option. We're going to add in a plain title. Yep, and it already has a variable here, so we really just need to add it in. Title edit, title, bling title. And then once this is done, so I think I've made all the edits that I need to make, and they're all feeding off of these states. I need to add in the save button and then the done button actions. Edit. Oh, whoops. Brew title. Brew title. And I might end up wanting to do some padding up and below. Brew title unknown. So we can coffee. Totally makes sense. 65. Cool. So they are editable. So the next thing I want to do is I really want to know, can I change dot font dot large? What did I use? Did I use? Sorry, I'm trying to make it look more consistent so that this is actually larger. Dot title. That's what I used. Can that work? Does that work? I don't know. We're gonna find out. It does work. Oh, well, that's easy. Then that's also what I want to do for coffee amount. And then it throws it in a bit more, because then those are the things you have to pay attention to. Coffee amount, font title, and then those don't look actually they probably are the same size. Bloom amount, title, yeah, they are the same size. Great. So that's done. Coffee, and then that being black is totally fine. Or being primary, I guess is what it'll actually be, is the primary, because that'll change with dark mode. It's title, coffee to water ratio. Boom, boom, boom. And then coffee amount. So I wonder if I could, sorry, I'm trying to ratio edit here. I'm trying to also make it look a little bit more balanced than it does. Coffee to water ratio should really be kicked all the way to the side. So that's your coffee to water. So this is H stack here. V stack, and I have a spacer. What if I just get rid of that spacer? So that in that H stack, it just kicks it all the way to the right. Is that gonna work? I hope it does. We'll find out. New method, edit. Yeah, I mean, and then everything that's actionable is actually on the right. You have the labels on the left here, and you can increase, decrease. Actually, I mean, it makes sense to have that there, because the 14 grams is what you're editing. But I wonder if it makes more sense to not have that. Is to have this all the way, have the stepper actually to the right of that guy. Let's see real quick. Let's see how that looks. If that looks bad, then I'll revert it back. But I'm just trying to figure out how it's gonna work. How it looks. Edit. I mean, I think that works. 1 gram too. You don't really need the padding there. And this no longer actually has to be a V-stack. Neither is this. And then what we can do is plus these together. So concatenate them together. I got, so inside that H stack though, I still, there we go. That way, whatever you're adjusting is actually the larger size. So I think that'll work okay. Cool, let's see. The more I see it, the more I see wanting to put coffee and water underneath. That's still something I'm throwing around. 1 gram coffee to 16 grams water. I think I like it. I haven't quite figured it out yet. If I actually do, we'll see. This might be something I just play with and figure out, like, as playing, if that's something like that I really like. And then do I trying to be consistent here instead of without a space next to the G. Okay, so now I have that actually like worked out, and I think it flows a bit more of what I like. So the next thing that we're gonna do is actually edit. Great, now we're actually going to make that save button here and get done to work correctly, where it actually saves everything. Coffee adjust, actually, I really like this button. We're just gonna copy and paste this button. And that lives right there. Update. So this is just gonna call update the brew method. And then in here, we're also gonna update the brew method. Okay, and I think I can actually get rid of that as well. So instead of, so I'm trying to think of what the best way to do this would be to get the, because we're also going to have a variable brew method. So let's, in here, you know, instead of in here doing this, I really want to pass in do I want to pass in everything? I think I do. But do I really need to pass in everything is the question. So like, or can I just have it be a new brew method with the same ID? Well, I could just pass in the brew method, the new brew method, updated brew, which is a brew method. And then we can request and get that, instead of doing it as a class, we're just gonna do it as a struct. The reason why I changed it from a struct to a class is because I don't care if this gets copied over again versus just referenced. And then we're gonna have it let brew method manager equals, there we go. BMM brew method manager, and we'll just do BMM dot update. Let updated brew method equals brew method, and we'll send it updated brew method, and we get the object. No, that's fun. At environment / dot managed object context var MOC. We're gonna send it MOC. Cool. Great. And so then we're gonna say, so it's basically assigning it to that new one, and then we're gonna do updated brew method dot equals bloom length. I'm trying to actually also think, like, I mean, I'm basically gonna have to do this twice, so, like, can I just do, is it possible to just do, yeah, cool. So I don't actually need to declare a new one. I can just say it here. And it wants int 64, right? Oh, no, just slice. Wow. Just send it brew method. That's all we need. Brew method is sent. Brew method dot title equals title. I know this is a lot of exciting things happening watching me do all this. We're basically going to do the exact same thing again, except it's going to be what's it going to do after this? except we're going to say set values and all this fun stuff in here after we make that fetch request. Brew method dot bloom ratio equals int 64 of bloom ratio bloom sorry, not bloom, brew method dot bloom coffee ground equals no. I have to do that check. So we'll do that. Check for get coffee ground. So we'll just do func get coffee ground. So basically, if coffee ground equals quote quote, oh, and we gotta return a double return 0.0. Else return double. Can I do a double of a string? I think I can. Of build failed. Why did the build fail? Oh, because it's not. We are going to send in the brew method. I think that should do it. That should get that failure from going. Yeah, it did. Cool. So let's go back and keep working on this guy. All right, so if it's ever quote quote, then it's going to be 0.0. And if not, we're going to return that. Let me make sure that is exactly what I said to you before. Coffee adjust, because I've done it, but I want to make sure it's right. So double of new amount. Oh, well, that's actually easier than what I just did. Equals, and I can just do it in one line right here. Double of coffee ground, or see, this is a lot better because then I'm not forcing wrapping anything. 0.0. Cool. So now since that's doing 0.0, great. So we have coffee ground done. Then we got to get the water ratio rewritten. So if you notice, the only thing that we haven't really changed is that ID, that UUID in the brew method, and that's what we're going to use to do our fetch request on. So brew method dot water ratio equals int. I probably really didn't need to make this 64, but it's fine that I guess I did. I don't know. Of water ratio. I know that that just means there's like I think that means there's 64 bits to there, but I could be wrong. To that integer allows me to store really big numbers. Again, I don't necessarily need it, but it's okay. Cool, so update there is done. Back. Cool. So then we need to actually finish writing the method here. Yep, okay. Oh, and I need to actually, before I go finish writing that method, I want to do that on up here that makes it all like nice and look at and set the defaults to whatever was in that brew method. I will set dot self dot brew method dot title, not title, bloom length equals self dot brew method dot bloom length. Fix or unknown. Oh, and then these all need self dot. We're going to actually be a little bit quick here. Instead of just self dot and then delete. So to get multiple, undo. Yeah. To get multiple cursors inside Xcode, it's Control and then Shift, and you click where you want those multiple cursors. I know. So we actually want that to be copy, paste, quotes, slash, and then self dot brew method. So now that should, instead of it being unknown, that should actually be better. So let's see how this goes. New brew method. Edit. Haha, it's in there. Yay. Done. Sweet. The only thing is that it won't store like that. See, it clears it at some point because we're not actually updating core data. So let's actually get that core data updated now. Finally, the part that I've been saying, okay, now this, and then I keep doing something else. But now it's time to actually do this. So, let's get that in there. Update brew method. So like I said, I've done this. The first thing we need to do is get that UUID. So let brew ID equals updated brew dot ID as NSUUID. So we also have to force unwrap it so that it automatically goes to, so that, because I know it's going to be there, that's why I'm also going to force unwrap it. So that shouldn't be an issue there. And then what we're going to do is actually declare that fetch request. So I'm just going to copy these and we'll have to change it a little bit. But basically, and I'll walk through a little bit of what exactly we're doing. So we're making a fetch request with the NS fetch request, that is an NS fetch request type. In our entity name, we're going to change that to actually be the brew method. Because that's what it is. It's a brew method. And that's what that entity itself is right there. Then our ID needs to also be a brew ID. Cool. And then we say, hey, only fetch one, only fetch the first one that matches that NSUUID. Now we get to do the fun part where we actually get to set the values. And again, I'm just going to copy and paste that values in there. So do let try equals. So we let that test equals that fetch request. Then we take the very first brew update. Brew update. Then we take the very first object that it brings, because we're checking on that ID, and by default, when you make a UUID, it should all be unique. We can just grab that first one because we know we know that it's gonna be. And now we get to go through and basically repeat kind of what I did here and up there. Updated brew dot title for key for key title. I'll make this a little bit bigger so it just tries to fit on one line. Brew update dot set value as so that value is going to be bloom length. Brew update dot set value update brew dot bloom ratio for key. Oh, updated, not update. Whoops. Bloom ratio. Brew update dot set value. Updated brew dot coffee ground for key. This is actually not even that many things to update, to be honest. I could have only chosen to update one at a time, but I actually don't want to do that. It's fine to do it multiple at the same time. It might be a little bit better performance that like as soon as one's changed you update it, but because I wanted it to be confirmed, that's what I did. Oh, that's what's up. A coffee ground water ratio. And this is also why I try to use the same variables everywhere, because then it makes it a little bit easier. Like I can just see, okay, I'm talking about water ratio, then my key is water ratio to look it up on. Set value. Updated brew dot. Oh, that's it. Great. So those are set. And then I believe I just need to do in my update show on here, I think I just need to do a context dot try. Where'd it go? Yeah, try context dot save. Yeah. It's funny going from here where it's like oops, I hit the wrong thing. Whoops. It's funny going from like my big monitor to like my watch size screen. The text is just so small that it just changes. It just looks weird. Because right now my text is a lot bigger than what I usually use. You can kind of see in my terminal here, like the text is super tiny. because like I mean I like it that way. I have a big monitor, so having the text be a smaller size is a little bit easier. So now I should be able to go here, edit, Chemex, save. Oh, and it broke. Why did it break? Terminating app due to entity name for name. Nil is not a legal NS for searching for entity name brew method. Brew method is the name that I'm looking for. I love core data errors. So this is saying basically that let's go back through the trace here. Thread. Entity name. The entity name is a brew method. Nil. I'm not asking for a nil. Oh, my keyboard is gonna die soon. I love that everything's USB-C because when my keyboard's about to die, I just grab a cable and it works. It's the same cable I use for my iPad and it's amazing. But entity name, show entity. I go over here. Entity name, brew method. Nil is not illegal for NS, but it's not a legal NS persistent store container, but it isn't. Nil is not an NS persistent stored. I wonder if I need to pass it again from here. Because we go into main edit through like a modal, and sometimes those are causing weird things. So inside this modal from calc main, see, like I had to pass this environment object. Dot. I don't even know if I'm allowed to do that first off, but we're going to try it. Build failed. Because, like I said, Okay, so this is probably part of the issue, is that this doesn't actually have my environment at environment. / dot managed object. Context. Var MOC. Byron. Oh, spelling. Spelling. It's always an issue, but that's okay. We'll get there. Cool. We're gonna hit that button, edit. Chemex. Save. Ooh. Ooh, it's working. Well, that's exciting. Now I wonder if I run it again, will it have stored it? I hope it did. Well, this is exciting, guys. I think I got the core data to actually store what it was supposed to. Chemex is here. Then we can say, and you can change that brew title to whatever you want. 65.0, enter, save, done. 65, it's working. 65 times 16 is 1040. Looks like I got 1040 there in that water amount, so this is a good sign. Great. So the next thing I really want to do is change that coffee amount where I hit it, and I can change it here. Oh, and I need to do inside the edit. Main edit here as well. There's actually something I need to, so when you hit done, we don't want to dismiss it first. We want to update first. And then on here, we're going to also do it. Why not just put it in here? Where we just do a presentation mode. Since it's going to call the same method, instead of making sure it's called twice, just put it in the method that's going to call it. Okay. So that should be done. So the next thing I want to do is get that coffee amount working. And then how close are we to being done? That's done. And that's actually done. Okay, so the thing we're going to do here now is coffee adjust view needs to update core data. Coffee, cool. So yeah, that needs us to log core data, and then I am going to want to delete a brew method from list. Edit brew method from list. But what we'll also want to delete before we leave. So coffee adjust views need to update core data. So that says here, we need to actually update that core data. Let's coffee amount edit. Don't need settings. Coffee amount edit. Coffee adjust. So let's just do a state var new amount. That's going to be a string, quote, quote. Yeah, new amount equals, quote, quote. Change that to string. And then because that's cancel. Cool. Self.save. So instead of that, we're gonna call coffee amount, edit here. Coffee ground is gonna get the new amount. And then that doesn't matter because it'll get called with that amount. Settings dot, nope. We need the raw here. Main edit. And the those two. Calc main here. Brew method. Self.brew method. And then a new amount. It's going to be self.brew method dot coffee ground. It needs to be string slash. Yeah. Haha. Okay, so that's going to take in the string. Yeah, fix that. Now, what we want to do here is so now what we want to do here is actually get that bmm.update MOC with brew method dot coffee ground equals a double of new amount or 0.0. Yeah, I think so. I think that's right. Let's run it and see what happens. So in theory, I can go from here, click here, change this to 60, go back to save. Okay, so it went back, and then if I go back here, cool. And then I go home. Or if I just run it again, in theory, that 60 should still be saved. That's what I'm hoping for. Come on. Haha, it's still there. Awesome. I like when things work. It really helps. It is a really good feeling when they work. Cool. So we have that there. The one last thing I want to do is, oh, wrong side. There we go. Come back. One more. There we go. That's done. Delete a brew method from the list. And by the way, this is on test flight already. So once this gets done, I write up some test notes. It'll be actually on TestFlight for you to download. And I'll get it approved and stuff, but I won't do that while I'm live streaming. I'll take my computer and do that in the living room. Coffee adjust. So delete a brewing method. What's the wrong one? Delete object. Oh, so that's really easy. I just do delete. So to delete an object, we're going to press and hold and make a context object, a context menu appear. So inside Brew Choices menu, this VStack is fun. Dot context menu. Go make sure I'm doing this right. Show settings, I did it in. Change show row. No, change show. Yeah, I just put a back button with an action. So, button, action, whoops. Self.delete brew method. Cool. And then image, system name, trash. I think there's a trash can. Trash stop. Let's just do trash. Text, and we're going to delete. Self dot brew method dot, or sorry, no, it's just self dot. It's not even self. It's brew method dot title or unknown. Cool. Awesome. So that unknown is there. Let's add in a delete function here. Func delete brew method. Brew method manager dot delete. And let's go get this added. Inside, so we have add, update, delete. Or if you're thinking about a CRUD, create, create, update, and delete is what we're gonna do. Func delete brew method, context, brew. Right, I need that brew method to actually delete. Yeah. And it should be as simple as, whoops, context dot delete brew method. And then a do. And then we want to do a do catch. So do catch, try, context.save, print error. Obviously, I'm really good at error handling. That is something I really have to get better at. Yep. It does now. Making sure it does now. And we just gotta get a brew method in there. Should still throw an error. brew method. I don't know why it does this. Looks like there's some bugs in Xcode right now. And up here, brew method. All right, and we just got to see if it actually deletes. And I think it is done and ready to be put onto Xcode, into test flight. Which this has been a really long session for me. So thanks for everyone who stuck it out, and thanks for everyone who's watched and watching. Chemex, great, back. Actually, delete it. Goodbye. OMG, it's deleting. I added too many, so that's what's happening here. Is I have to delete them. I might end up taking that add button out of there. It was just supposed to look like a new brew method, but I might top it off at the top again then. That way it's just always add, but you should add. You can go into it, edit, Chemex. To me, this is all perfect actually. Oh, I spelled wrong. I like spelling. Great. If I hit done, it should do the same as save. Go back. Cool. And that's there. Okay, so we're done. Yes. Let me go and increase this, and for, I know that this is probably more than 2, but we're just gonna call it build 2. I'm gonna increment that every time I submit it to test flight. Oops. And change this, and we'll talk while it builds for a generic iOS device. Cool. All right, so that is done. Great. So if we see everything is actually done out of 2020-06-01. So let's see, what are we gonna do next week? Next week we are going to do, next week is the 8th. Okay, so next week, I want to edit the brewing method from the list the same way that we deleted, but that wasn't necessary for today. Timer button and text needs to be a bit bigger. And then this might not be as necessary now. Let's do, I really want to add a log, but I don't want to do that yet. And then we'll add a way to work backwards. I think that's actually a decent amount of work, because that's going to need to be a, so that'll have to be an option, or something, to where they can work each other backwards. So that's going to need some thinking, but that's a good project for me to do over the week. So thanks everyone for watching. I really appreciate it. So next week, like I said, what we're going to do is edit the brewing method from list, timer button, and then fix the timer button so the style looks a little bit better, and then have a way to work backwards. And we accomplished a lot, or I accomplished a lot. I got Cloudkit, not Cloudkit, wow, core data working. Calculation for the water looks like it's working correctly now, and the coffee ratio water should be switched. So that's done. So we are going to push this into Alta, push this into test flight later today. So as soon as that gets approved and is ready, it'll be done. Feel free to, and if you want to sign up for the beta, if you go onto my Twitch channel, which in theory you probably are there. If you go onto Twitch, there should be a project section there that you can, or it says project coffee companion, that there you can click to go to the website, and there's a beta link. Feel free to sign up for the beta link. I think I have it open to 25 now, but I can always open that more if I need to. If you want to run it, great. Remember, it does require iOS 13.4 apparently. I wonder if I decrease that to 13.0, if that'll be a-okay. I think it will be. I'm just trying to build again and see if it works, if it does that. No errors. Yeah, but it's going to require at least iOS 13. It might be iOS 13.4, which is not the latest, but one behind. So just make sure to update that if you need to. And again, thanks so much for watching, and I will be back, I think, next Monday, and we'll work more on Coffee Companion. Thanks. Okay.